This is the first teaching on the Book of Proverbs from chapter 1, verses 1 and 2. The beginning of knowledge. Proverbs chapter 1, verse 1. The Proverbs of Solomon, the son of David, the king of Israel. Verse 2. To know wisdom and instruction, to perceive the words of understanding. In Hebrew, the word know is the word yada, and it means experiential knowledge, an intimate knowledge that is developed over a period of time as you observe and get to know this person by the activities of their life and by the words that they speak. As we develop this close, intimate relationship with God, and we listen to the words that He speaks to us, we begin to recognize that these words are different to the words that we have been hearing in the world. And we start to recognize that the words that we've been hearing could well be foolishness in comparison to these words of wisdom that are coming from God. And so we are faced with a choice. Which words are we going to believe? These words of wisdom can be explaining to us how things work in the world and in the spirit realm, and that these words of wisdom enable us to develop skills in life that lift us out of the ordinary. The word wisdom in Hebrew is this word chokmah that we find in Strong's number 2451, and this wisdom is opposite to foolishness. For us to understand these words of wisdom, it helps if we could have instruction from someone else that is further down the path than ourselves. This means that we have to humble ourselves and be willing to listen to someone else, someone that wants to bring discipline into our life, someone that we give the authority to bring correction to us in areas where our behaviour is wrong. And this instruction enables us to understand what to do, and it is the opposite to confusion, where people are surrounded by a number of choices, but they are unable to make a decision as to which is the best way to go. This process of instruction is a process, and it takes time. And so the word perceive that we find in these two verses is the Hebrew word bin, 995 in Strong's, and it has this concept of to see, to recognize, to pick out. And so over a period of time we start to recognize something that we didn't see before. An example of that would be if we are looking for a needle in a haystack. That would take some time for us to find it, but if we were diligent in our search, eventually we could find it. Obviously it would be a lot easier if we had got something magnetic and that would pull it out of all of the straw. But the concept that we've got is that there is knowledge, there is understanding that is out there, but we have to perceive it, and that it is a process. Again, one of the ways I've looked at this in the past is if we went out from a lighted room into the darkness outside. It was a cloudless night, and the sky is filled with stars. But because we've come out of a lighted room, when we look up, we could see hundreds of stars. But if we will stay out there for 5 minutes, allowing our eyes to adjust to the darkness, that we would begin to see thousands of stars. Again, if we were to stay out there for another 5 minutes, we would probably be able to see millions of stars. And if we stayed out there for maybe 30 minutes, and looked up into the night sky, we could see billions of stars. Now they were all there, but we were unable to see them in the beginning. And so perception is something that develops over a period of time. It is a process, and we begin to have understanding. And one of the terms that we have is that it dawned upon me, that light came, that where we were in the dark, now light begins to dawn upon us. And so every morning the darkness begins to disappear as light comes, and it is a process. And so we have to recognize that perception is a process, and that understanding develops, it builds. So we have this word understanding. It's the Hebrew word binah, 998 in Strong's, and I like to turn those two words around and to say to stand under. To explain this, that we can stand under an atmosphere of light, or we can stand under an atmosphere of darkness. If we stand in the light, then we will understand. If we stand in the dark, then we won't understand, because we can't see. Understanding is dependent upon light, and where there is no light, there is ignorance. Wisdom is connected with light, and so we need to recognize that there are people that walk in wisdom, and there are organizations that walk in wisdom. And that means that when they speak, when they communicate, they are standing under light, and that means that people that are listening or reading the communications that come from these people have the opportunity to understand. There are other people and organizations that operate under darkness, and seeking to understand or to receive wisdom from them will not take place, because they don't have wisdom. They operate in foolishness. So when we're standing under the light, we should begin to perceive that there are thoughts coming to us that are directly opposite, that thoughts come from different directions, and that some thoughts are coming from a group of people that are operating in light, and some thoughts are coming from a group of people that are operating in darkness, and that we are beginning to see the difference between those words, and we're starting to recognize words that contain wisdom and other words that contain foolishness. The beginning of true wisdom is when we start to understand that our thoughts can originate either in light or in darkness, and that we need to start to sift our thoughts so that we do not just accept every thought that comes into our mind, that we have to start to sift those thoughts to recognize which ones are wisdom and which ones are foolishness, so that we can meditate upon the words of wisdom and we can reject the thoughts of foolishness. So we begin to perceive that there are two kingdoms in this world, two kingdoms in the spiritual realm. There is the kingdom of light and there is the kingdom of darkness. In the kingdom of light, the king is Jesus Christ. In the kingdom of darkness, the king is Satan. God's original plan was for every human being to be born into the kingdom of light, but because of the sin of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, ever since, every human being is now born into the kingdom of darkness. The only way out of the kingdom of darkness is through the door. This door was created by Jesus Christ, and he said of himself, "I am the door. I am the gate for the sheep." So to enter into the kingdom of light, we must first reject Satan as our king, so that we can lead the kingdom of darkness. And we must accept Jesus Christ as our king and enter into the kingdom of light through him, through the doorway. And he said that there is no other way to the Father but through himself, Jesus Christ. If you would like more information, if you will go to our website, which is theapostolicpraisecentre.com, and you'll find many more recordings and teachings that will help you to understand this whole topic. Thank you for listening.